ECO being categorized in two parts. One, we know that yes, TCS would be applicable in one category of the ECO. What could be the second category? What could be the second category? It could be the 9 subsection 5. It could be the 9 subsection 5. Tell me one thing, whether TCS would be applicable in case of the 9 subsection 5 ECU. Will the TCS be applicable in case of the 9 subsection 5 ECU? The answer would be no. Answer would be no. So only Geet is giving the reply. What about other participant? Okay, Sanjay is also giving the reply. Saminathan is also giving the reply. Very nice. So one part is clear, that e-commerce operator who are considered as deemed supplier in the 9.5, who are considered as deemed supplier in the 9.5 will not come into the ambit of TCS. Now let's read the provision. So fine. Taxability of the e-commerce transaction. Let's read first definition of the e-commerce operator. E-commerce and e-commerce operator. What is the meaning of e-commerce? E-commerce means the supply of the goods or service or both, including digital product over digital or electronic network. And what is the meaning of the e-commerce operator? E-commerce operator means any person who own, operate or manage the digital or electronic facility or platform for e-commerce. Clear? So now, if let's say I am Amazon, Amazon is making the supply of its own goods by using their own platform. मैं Amazon हूं and मैं अपने goods की supply करता हूं. I'm making the supply of my own goods on my platform. Will you say to that extent I am e-commerce operator, or will you say that I am making my outward supply? In this case, absolutely correct. It is considered that I am making my outward supply. So I am the supplier in that case. It is not to be treated. It is not to be treated that I am e-commerce operator. And the TCS provision would not be applicable in this case. Okay. Now, what is the 9 subsection 5? Before reading the 9 subsection 5, you all know, give me the all example of 9 subsection 5. Give me all example of 9 subsection 5. Give me all example of the 9 subsection 5, and we'll try to see. The next class is on subsequent classes, not the next. So after that, I will not be available for next 10 classes, next 10 days. So it will be taken by Vishal sir. But whenever I will come back, okay, and I will get an opportunity to teach returns, I will explain this part over there. In the today class, we will also see how the 9.5 transaction would be reported in the GST return. How many participants are having the idea of GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B? Sanjay, question was, tell me the example of the 9 subsection 5. Passenger transportation services, hotel accommodation services. Okay, so you are asking which one? This is the only question. I have asked that whether you have experience of the GSTR 3B and GSTR 1. That's it. That was my next question. So, passenger transportation services like Ola, Uber. In the passenger transportation services, they have excluded one category. Can you tell me which category has been excluded? They have excluded one category. Can you tell me which category has been excluded? All omnibus? All omnibus? All omnibus? Yes. If it is given by the corporate. Very nice. Can you tell me what could be the main reason behind this? What could be the main reason to exclude behind this? What was the big loss to the corporate? Think and tell me. What could be the main reason to exclude omnibus if the operator is company? Very nice, beta. Very nice. Because the big loss, they are not getting the input tax credit. If my outward supply is the 9 subsection 5, if my outward supply, if I'm a deemed supplier, I am not eligible to take, I am not eligible to take the input tax credit. So suppose I'm a company and I purchase the buses for my outward supply. Okay. But it is being given through, let's say, Ola, Uber. In that case, the tax is being paid by Ola, Uber, and I am not required to pay the tax. So entire ITC, entire GST paid on buses, etc., become my cost. But I am corporate. I am not a small player. Considering that they have excluded, so now who will pay the tax? The company will pay the tax, or the e-commerce operator will pay the tax on this transaction? Tell me, who will pay the tax if I'm a omnibus service provider and I'm a corporate providing to you, to your organization through, let's say, Ola? Who will pay the tax on this transaction? The answer is myself. Whether TCS would be applicable in this case, whether TCS would be applicable in this case, whether TCS would be applicable in this case, answer is yes. See, now if it is being excluded from 9.5 and still the service are being rendered through e-commerce operator, then obviously the TCS will come into the picture. The TCS will come into the picture. Is it clear? Let's read. Government may, on the recommendation of the council by notification, specify the category of the services, the tax on intrastate supply. Tell me one thing. If the transportation services being rendered through any e-commerce operator, in one state to the another state means interstate supply. Can I say that the 9(5) provision would not be applicable? Tax will not be paid by the e-commerce operator. Tax will be paid by the supplier himself because they have written the word intrastate supply. Is my understanding correct? My question is, if I am the rent-a-cab transportation service provider providing through Ola Uber, but this time it is interstate, in that case, will the Ola Uber be liable to pay the tax, or I being a supplier will pay the tax? Reason is the word intrastate. My God. Very nice. Very nice. Try to understand. If the word intrastate is written, why it is written? Because you are reading the 9 subsection 5 of the CGST Act. Read the similar provision of the 5 subsection 5 of IGST Act. You will find the word interstate. You will find the word interstate. And therefore, my understanding, whatever I told you is not correct because if it is interstate supply, then also ECU is liable to pay the tax and is considered as deemed supplier because of the 5 subsection 5. Now, of which shall be paid by the e-commerce if such service are supplied through it, and all the provision of this act shall apply to such ECU as if he is the supplier liable for paying the tax in relation to the supply of service, provided that e-commerce operator does not have the physical presence in the taxable territory. Any person representing such e-commerce operator shall be liable to pay the tax. कौन पे करेगा? The person who is representing that e-commerce operator. And if second proviso says, if that e-commerce operator does not have the physical presence, also does not have the representative, such e-commerce shall appoint one person for the purpose of paying the tax, and such person shall be liable to pay the tax. Same provision, let's read section 5 subsection 5 and you will find the word interstate. Is it applicable for the services or is it applicable only for the goods or both? The concept of deemed supplier is applicable for services, applicable for goods, or applicable for both. The answer is because they have written the word services. They have written the word services, a specified category of services. Therefore, the concept of deemed supplier is limited to services only. Is it clear? Very simple. Rest same. Now we are reading the provision of section 52. The collection of tax at source. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in this act, every e-commerce operator, hereinafter referred to as operator, not being an agent, shall collect an amount calculated at such rate not exceeding 1%, as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council. Shall collect an amount calculated at such rate not exceeding 1%. So, it means the TCS rate will always be 2% or it can be lower also. The rate of the TCS will always be 2% or it can be lower also. Please confirm. And what is the current rate of TCS? What is the current rate of TCS? It is 0.5%. 0.25 CGST, 0.25 SGST. In the last class, I told you one similar provision. What was that? In the last class, I told you similar provision. What was that? Is interest. Section 50, subsection 3 talks about 24%. But actual rate of interest is 1/8 on reversal of ITC as well. ठीक है. As may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council on net value of taxable supplies. Whether TCS would be applicable on exempt supply? Whether TCS would be applicable on exempt supply? Answer is no. Sales minus sales return. And in such case, with respect to such supplies where it is collected by the operator. Now, there are some multiple combination. If I will say no TCS is to be collected, no TCS is to be collected, how many scenario I can club? Let me open one Excel sheet, write down all the situation. If I'm asking the question, no TCS, in which case? Just can you tell me and I will write down. Whatever the point which comes to your mind, please tell me, I will write down. We have discussed so many things. Absolutely correct. If it is an exempt supply. Very nice. Any other thing? Yes. If the payment is directly collected, what about CEO himself is a supplier or agent? ये point क्यों कह रहे हो? Import? Why you are saying word import? As such, there is no Why you are saying import, Saminathan? On import, why you are saying? I'm not able to get clarity. See, point number one, that concept of TCS is applicable on outward supply or inward supply. First, tell me the concept of TCS is applicable on outward supply or inward supply. Concept of TCS is applicable on outward supply, right? Then if it is an outward supply, question of import of goods or import of service will not arise, right? Question of import of goods, import of service will not arise. Are you getting my point? Because it is purchase, it is inward supply, and TCS is applicable on outward supply. Does it make sense? Because 2-3 participant is given the word import of goods. Ye not excluded. So it might come if the, let's say I am making the sale to the foreigner, but it is supplied through Amazon. Will the TCS be applicable? Answer is yes. So it is not specifically excluded. We'll see. आपने और क्या लिखा है? Exempt supply need to be under RCM. So that is not, that will not come. RCM is on inward supply. Okay. I can say where ECO is considered as deemed supplier under section 9 subsection 5. Can I say this? Yes or no? एक बार confirm करें quickly. Can I say this last वाला line? Answer is yes, I can say. Saminathan, I am listing down the situation where TCS is not applicable. In all 1, 2, 3, 4, in all the 4 cases, there will be no TCS. It is not limited to 1 and 4. Which exercise I am doing? Is it clear, Sanjay? Saminathan? Okay. Now, let's come back. There could be some more scenario we will discuss later. And if there is a sales return, correct? For the purpose of this subsection, net value of taxable supply shall mean aggregate value of the taxable supplies other than services notified in the 9.5. During any month by all registered person through the operator reduced by the aggregate value of the taxable supplies returned to the supplier during the said month. Okay. The power to collect shall be without prejudice to any other mode of recovery from the operator. Amount collected under subsection 1 shall be paid to the government by the operator within 10 days after the end of the month in which such collection is made, in such manner as may be prescribed. Amount collected shall be paid to the government within 10 days. In the last class, what is one more compliance is having the same date. Last class में हमने क्या पढ़ा था? Having the same date of the compliances, that is correct. Section 51, that is TDS. Absolutely correct. All are correct. Every operator who collect the amount is specified in subsection 1 shall furnish a statement electronically containing the details of outward supply effected through it, including the supply returned through it, amount collected during the month in such form. Anybody who have any idea? Samyanathan has given the right answer. Anybody who have any idea in which form they are filing? The answer is absolutely correct. GSTR 8. Within 10 days after the end of each month, provided that commissioner may, for the reason to be recorded in writing by notification, extend the time limit for furnishing the statement for such class of the registered person as may be specified. That any extension of the time limit notified by the commissioner of the state tax shall be deemed to be notified by the commissioner of this act means commissioner. Only commissioner means CGST commissioner. Every operator who collect the amount specified in subsection 1 shall furnish an annual statement electronically contain the details of the outward supply of the goods or services or both affected through it. Every operator who collect the amount specified shall furnish an annual statement. Anybody who knows the form number? Anybody who knows the forms? 9B, and which is very nice knowledge. Very nice knowledge here. And is it applicable in the current date? Is it applicable in the current date? It is 9B, 9 capital B, capital B. So the annual return is 3 GSTR 9 for regular taxpayer, 9 capital A for composition. Both are notified. And then 9B, it is for e-commerce operator, but it is not notified. Every e-commerce operator who collect the amount specified in subsection 1 shall furnish an annual statement electronically containing the details of outward supplies, including the supplies returned through it and the amount collected during under the said subsection during the financial year in such form, such manner as may be prescribed before the 31st of December. Yes, commissioner can extend the time limit, correct? And then same things, if it is extended by the CGST, SGST, vice versa will be applicable. Vice versa applicable means if it is extended by the SGST, it means it is being treated that CGST is also extended. If any operator, after furnishing the statement under subsection 4, discover any omission or incorrect particulars other than the result of scrutiny, audit, enforcement by the tax authority, he shall rectify such omission or incorrect particular in the statement to be furnished for the month during which such omission or incorrect particular are noticed, subject to the payment of interest as specified in 50 subsection 1. किसकी बात कर रहे हैं? Statement under subsection 4. It means they are talking about the GSTR 8 or GSTR 9B. Are they talking about the GSTR 8 or are they talking about the GSTR 9B? Answer is GSTR 8. Provided that no such rectification of any omission or incorrect particular shall be allowed after the 30th November following the end of the financial year or the actual date of furnishing the relevant annual statement, whichever is earlier. Kindly tell me that time limit is applicable at some more places. कम से कम 3 या से 4 जगह मुझे ऐसे बताइए, 3 to 4 places where same time limit is applicable. Please tell me the 3 to 4 circumstances or situation where same time limit is being talked about in the law. Okay. Okay. First point, you all are saying ITC. बहुत बढ़िया. Credit note. And which should I write? Declaration of the credit note or issuance of the credit note? Which word is suitable? Issuance of the credit note or declaration of the credit note? Which word is suitable? Because I know that there is a possibility of mistake, so I am again repeating. So it will be the declaration. Correct. Third, a rectification in GSTR 1. Same rectification in GSTR 3B. ठीक है. Thank you. Subsection 7 says the supplier who has supplied the goods or services or both through the operator shall claim the credit in his cash ledger of the amount collected and reflected in the statement of the operator furnished under subsection 1 in such manner and as may be prescribed. Are they talking about supplier? Are they talking about issue or are they talking about recipient? In this provision, they are talking about supplier, e-commerce operator, or recipient. Absolutely correct. They are talking about supplier. So can I say it is a perfect example? Just listen my example. One restaurant is making the supply through Zomato to Mr. A. Then the amount collected by him shall be added in the electronic cash ledger of the restaurant as per subsection 1. This example is correct. Whether this example is correct for this subsection? Oh. Samanathan Singh, sir, you are not correct. Why, sir? ऐसा क्यों बोल रहे हैं? Geet is also saying, sir, no, it is not correct. Why not correct? Because I have taken the example of restaurant supplying through Zomato. Whether TCS would be applicable or 9.5 is applicable here. 9.5. And if it is 9.5, then TCS will be applicable. Will the TCS be applicable on the 9.5 transaction? No. And therefore, the example which I have taken is not suitable example for subsection 7. Thank you so much. So that concept is called as GSTR 2X. Normally, I have not seen the notified as 2X, but in the normal, the people are using the word 2x. When you log into the supplier GST portal, there will be the concept of TDS/TCS credit received. If today time permit, then I will show you that TDS and TCS credit received. Once I click on that, then I will able to see the transaction. And once I will accept, immediately it will be added in my electronic cash ledger. ठीक है. An authority not below the rank of the deputy commissioner may serve the notice either before or during the course of any proceeding under this act, requiring the operator to furnish such detail relating to supplies of the goods or services or both effected through such operator during any period. Any authority not below the rank of the deputy commissioner. Rule 86 capital A is talking about what? And they are also have mentioned some designation. Can you quickly tell me which designation they have told over there? What is 86A? Rule 86A, for what it is, and then they have told the authority not below the rank of such and such commissioner have the power. Please complete my statement. Acha, it will be added to the cash ledger, not to the ITC. Thank you. Rule 86A is for blocking of the electronic credit ledger. Blocking the electronic credit ledger, and the officer should not be below the rank of officer should not below the rank of officer should not be below the rank of assistant commissioner. An authority not below the rank of deputy commissioner may serve the notice either before or during the course, requiring the ECO to, so in short, I will use the word ECO, e-commerce operator. Requiring the operator to furnish the details relating to the supplies of goods or services effected through such operator and stock of the goods held by the supplier making the supply through such operator in the godown or the warehouse by whatever name called, managed by the e-commerce operator and declared as an additional place of the business by the supplier, as may be specified in the notice. Every operator on whom a notice has been served under subsection 12. क्यों नोटिस भेजा? कि authority requiring the operator to furnish the details relating to the supply through the operator during any period and stock. Shall furnish the required information within 15 working days of the date of the service of the notice. Any person who failed to furnish the information as required in the notice without prejudice to any action that may be taken under section 122 be liable to the penalty which may extend to 25,000. We are reading the provision of the CGST Act. So therefore, similar amount of the penalty would be under IGST. So total penalty will be 50,000. Total penalty could be up to rupees 50,000. The operator shall not be allowed to furnish the statement after the expiry of the 3 years from the due date of the said statement. This concept is called as barring of return. Return will be barred after the expiry of 3 years. Provided that government may, on the recommendation of the council by notification, subject to such condition and restriction as may be specified therein, allows an operator or class of the operator to furnish the statement even after the expiry of the 3 years from the date of furnishing of the said statement. Matlab, you can maximum file the return, you can maximum file the return 3 years. But yes, government may, on the recommendation of the council by notification, specify that and allow the operator to file the return even after the expiry of 3 years. For the purpose of this expression, the section, the expression concerned supplier shall means the supplier of the goods or services or both making the supplies through operator. Right. GSTR1, GSTR3B, all forms have this deadline, this barring of the return concept. Why the concept of the barring of the return being given? Probably because there will be the huge data which need to be kept. There will be the huge data which need to be kept, considering that they have bring this provision 3 years wala. Now, returns chapter 8, rule 67. You already told the forms number appreciated. Every e-commerce operator required to collect the TCS under section 52 shall furnish the statement in GSTR 8. Is it monthly or quarterly or yearly? Is it monthly or quarterly or yearly? What is the due date? And what is the due date of GSTR 8? The answer is 10th of next month. 10th of next month, and it is a monthly return. Is it a return? Is it a return? Answer is it is a statement. It is not a return. Every e-commerce operator required to collect the TCS shall furnish the statement in GSTR 8 electronically, either directly or from a facilitation center notified by the commissioner, containing the details of the supplies effected through such operator and the amount of the TCS collected as required under section 52 subsection 1. ठीक है? Payment is also done, right? The details of the tax collected at source furnished by the ECU shall be made available electronically to each of the registered supplier on the common portal after filing the GSTR 8 for claiming the amount of the tax collected in the cash ledger after validation. Matching of the detail furnished by the e-commerce operator with the details furnished by the supplier. The following details related to the supplies made through e-commerce operator as matching of the details furnished by the e-commerce operator with the detail furnished by the supplier. ठीक है. Following details relating to supplies made through e-commerce operator as declared in the GSTR 8 shall be matched with the corresponding details declared by the supplier in GSTR 1 as amended in GSTR 1A, state of place of the supply, net taxable value, provided that where the time limit for furnishing the GSTR 1 has been extended. What is the time limit for furnishing the GSTR 1? For monthly, it is 11th, and for quarterly, it is 13th. Where the time limit of the GSTR1 has been extended, the date of matching of the above detail shall be extended accordingly. Provided further that the commissioner, on the recommendation of the council by order, extend the date of matching to such date as may be specified therein. Okay. Now we'll do the analysis part. Just take a break of 10 minutes. We'll start the break and then I will do the who undertake the matching procedure. I think supplier. No. Sorry. Matching of the detail furnished by the e-commerce operator with the detail furnished by the supplier. The matching would be done by the system. See, once the supplier file the GSTR1 and the e-commerce operator file the GSTR8, both will be matched by the system. If there is a mismatch, then system will generate the notice. However, that concept has been omitted. That concept has been omitted for the time being. MIS1, MIS2. Earlier there was a concept. That concept has been omitted, but yes, you in future you will see the new concept. Why I am saying so, Geet? Because you know that in the GSTR1 they have tables of table 14 and table 15. Correct. Similarly, in the GSTR8 they have made the certain changes. They made the certain changes, considering that there would be some or system matching will be carried out by the portal probably. Okay. As of now the law is not written over there, but yes, I can say because both is being filed by both the different person and no one can check to each other. अभी तक कोई mechanism नहीं है checking का. So considering that there will be the matching concept would be done by the e-commerce operator, would be done by the system. So that is the point. ठीक है. So Samyanathan, GST, okay. If QRMP, then 13. Absolutely correct, beta. Absolutely. So we'll start the analysis after the break. ठीक है. Just we'll take the break of 10 minutes. Ashok sir. various models of e-commerce operator. Let's read. Before, see, there is a concept of online marketplace model. In the online marketplace model, an online centralized platform is provided connecting manufacturer, retailers with potential customer. The platform itself does not own or stock the product or has the expertise to provide the service being sought by the customer. Instead, it merely facilitates the transaction and may offer additional services such as payment processing, customer support, logistic. The actual supply of goods is done by the respective supplier. The platform generates the revenue by charging from the supplier fee or commission by using the marketplace and accessing its customer database. The commission is typically a percentage of each supply made by the supplier. So what happened? Let's say Mr. A is a supplier of the goods and they are making the supply through Amazon, Flipkart, then Mr. B, then who will pay the tax to the government? Who will pay the tax to the government on this supply of the goods? On this supply of the goods. See, it is supply the goods. Who will pay the tax? Answer is Mr. A. And then whether Amazon is also raise some invoice on Mr. A. Whether Amazon will also raise the invoice on Mr. A. He will also raise the invoice on Mr. A for commission charges. Is it also the forward charge or RCM? Will it be forward charge or RCM? He will also raise the GST invoice. He will collect the tax and pay the same to the government. Mr. A would be able to take the ITC of this commission, GST part on the commission. Answer is yes, subject to the other condition. Assuming that rest of the condition are being satisfied. Rest of the condition are being satisfied, right? So this is the mechanism. Okay. Now, like Flipkart, Amazon, Alibaba, Myntra. Now the direct sales model. In the direct sales model, businesses sell their products directly to the consumer through their own online stores or website. Customer browse the company's website, select the product, and complete the purchase directly with the supplier. Is it covered or is it covered under e-commerce provision? So whether TCS would be applicable on this sale? The answer is no. Okay. Answer is no. Third is inventory model. In the inventory model, inventory of the goods or service is owned by the ECO that it supplies to the customer. That it supplies to the customer. That platform takes the responsibility for warehousing, inventory management, fulfillment of the order. This model is typically for the traditional retailer who have online presence. Okay. These all e-commerce operators are providing this facility. Above models are not exhaustive. There could be some other model. May adopt the combination of the model to suit their specific need and industry dynamic. E-commerce industry is constantly evolving and a new innovative model can emerge over time. Another way of classifying the e-commerce transaction is on the basis of the risk. That combination is very good. Now, supplier, ECU, and recipient. This can be registered or unregistered. This can be registered or unregistered. I'm not talking about the TCS or I'm not talking about the 95. I'm talking about normally, I can say, normally. There could be the possibility. However, at the end of this chapter, we will combine the registration provision in this. But these terms like B2B, B2C, C2C, C2B, C2G, G means government, G2C, government to consumer. There are various words being used for defining the status of the supplier and status of recipient. Okay, that we have discussed. There are a lot of circulars being issued on this part. So notified services in the 9.5, they have notified. No, okay. Services by way of the transportation of passenger by radio taxi, motor cab, maxi cab, motorcycle, or any other motor vehicle except omnibus. Why except omnibus? That I have discussed already. So let me read the omnibus wala part first. Service by way of the transportation of passenger by an omnibus except where the person supplying the service through e-commerce operator is a company. So if the omnibus are being provided by the proprietor or are being provided by the partnership firm through Ola Uber, will it covered under 9.5 or not? Will it covered under 9.5? Yes, it will be covered. Which has been excluded? The service provider is the company and he is providing the service by way of transportation of passenger by an omnibus. Second is accommodation in the hotel. Service by way of accommodation in the hotel, in guest house, club, campus site, by whatever name called. Meant for the residential or lodging purpose, except when the person supplying such service through e-commerce operator is liable for registration. So it means if the supplier is registered, will the e-commerce operator be liable to pay the tax under section 9.5? In this case, I am hotel. Okay. I am a hotel and I am registered in the GST. Will the Oyo rooms, urban club, Oyo rooms, make my trip, would be liable to pay the GST under 9.5? Correct. No. See, in my understanding, they are limited to the 20 to 1. But problem is, suppose someone has taken the voluntary registration as section 25 subsection 3 giving the, or someone has taken the mandatory registration because of section 24. If I am a hotel and I'm registered in the GST, not because of 20 to 1. What is the 20 to 1? When my turnover exceeds the threshold limit. What is the 20 to 1? When my turnover exceeds the threshold limit. Can I take the voluntary registration? Answer is yes, I can. So in that case, what happened? If I have taken the voluntary registration, in that case, whether my e-commerce operator be liable for 9.5 or not, because exclusion is only 22 subsection 1. And problem is, my dear friend, problem is how the e-commerce operator would be able to understand that I am a hotel and I am registered because of this section, because of this section, because of this section. Not able to understand, right? Similarly, so this is the problem, but yes, as of now, the 22.1 is covered in the notification. Service by way of housekeeping, such as plumbing, carpenting, except when the person supplying the service through issue is liable for registration. Same thing. Supply the restaurant service other than the service supplied by restaurant located at the specified premises. Now, the radio taxi means taxi including the radio cab by whatever name called, which is in two-way radio communication with the central control office and is enable the GPS system or GPRS system. Maxi cab means any motor vehicle constructed or adapted to carry more than 6 passengers, but not more than 12 passengers. Motor cab means any motor vehicle constructed or adapted to carry not more than 6 passengers. Motor car means any motor vehicle other than the transport vehicle, omnibus, road roller, tractor, motorcycle, or invalid carriage. And omnibus means any motor vehicle carrying more than 6 passengers, excluding driver. A specified premises means premises providing hotel accommodation having the declared tariff of any unit above 7,500 per unit per day or equivalent. Company means company incorporated under the Companies Act 2013 or any previous company law. Now, one exercise or one question I'm asking to you. So these are the list in front of you. Again, you tell me if the nature of the transaction is like transportation of passenger, hotel accommodation, small carpenting, plumbing, housekeeping, restaurant. In which all cases it will not be covered in the 9(5). There could be the 4(5) transaction, 4(5) situation. List down all the possibility where the service is this, whatever it has been given in the notification, but still it will not be covered in the 9(5). Try to think and then give the answer. Try to think. Registered housekeeping services. Agreed. Same you can say registered hotel accommodation. Correct. Third, you will say restaurant from specified premises. Correct. Fourth, you will say Omnibus bike company. In all the four situation, 95 is not applicable. In all the four situation, do you have any doubts, Saminathan? So I answered not applicable. So you are saying passenger transportation services in restaurant. Very nice, very nice, very nice. My next question was this only, Saminathan. My next question was this only. So for the timing, you agree for both four answer, right, Saminathan? Or do you have any disagreement? Okay, agreed. Now I am saying that there are one, two, three, four. Tell me, let's say I'm writing. Just I'm writing. Uh, First is transportation service and hotel accommodation and small housekeeping, carpenting, etc., plumbing, and then restaurant. Tell me whether 95 is applicable. Let me complete my question. Allow me to complete my question. If supplier is registered and if supplier is not registered, complete the one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and eight. Tell me. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, and you can add yes, no, yes, no, yes. Giving you 1 minute. I hope you would be able to see the Excel sheet now. This you need to complete. So one is yes, okay. Second is also you are saying yes. I'm just writing. Third is saying you are no. Fourth you are saying yes. Fifth you are saying no. Sixth you are saying yes. Seventh you are saying yes. Eighth you are saying no. Any participant, so I have written the answer as per the Geet. Sanjay is also saying same thing. And Geeta, Sanjay, Saminathan has given the right answer and Geet has given the answer. Now anyone would disagree. Only these you need to just make a focus. Because in the housekeeping and hotel accommodation, they have given the exclusion that if supplier is registered, I am assuming under section 22(1). I am assuming for the timing 22 subsection 1. What is the problem that I already told you? That if the supplier is registered, then in that case, ACO will not be liable under 9(5). Okay. Housekeeping and hotel accommodation, and rest all the places whether supplier is registered or not registered. It is immaterial. It is immaterial. Now, one more good thing I can add: omnibus by company and by other than company. Complete. This would be very good, yeah. This would be very good. This would be very good actually. What would be the answer? So, what is specific? See, Saminathan, they are having the special tax rate to that specified premises. Again, the concept would be for the ITC purpose only. So when you discuss the hotel industries in detail, the GST on the hotel industries, then you will come to know that in the specified premises, because they are like luxury type of the hotels. Because if the room rent is 7,500, then it is slightly more luxury, costly hotels. So they are providing the restaurant facility as well. So in order to take the ITC, they've excluded from this. One overview, basic understanding, but yes, again you will go into the detail in future. Again, answer is 9. What is the answer? 9, no. 10, no. 11, yes. And 12, yes. If government may, sorry, in this case, government may lose the revenue, which could possibly become, right? So if I'm omnibus and I like to exclude the GST part, then I will not take registration, but I will register myself as a company, then government will not have any tax on this. Do you agree with this? In all situations, see, if the company is not registered, then 95 was applicable. But in the serial number 10, try to understand that if the, see, if the supplier is not, sorry, if the supplier is not registered, even they are covered under 95 and government is collecting the tax. But if the supplier is omnibus service provider and he is a company, in that case, nor the tax will be paid by the supplier company, and nor by the, neither by the company or nor by the e-commerce operator. Very nice, yeah. All permutation combination we have discussed. ठीक है, चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं. Let's move further. Mhm. Any question? Just allow me. Just allow me 2 minutes. Just allow me 2 minutes. अशोक जी जस्ट 2 मिनट का ब्रेक स्टार्ट कर दीजिए, जस्ट 2 मिनट है. about that, yes, we have discussed all the categories of the services, right? Now the point is, now the clarification that we will read. So मैं ये एग्जांपल नहीं डिस्कस करता क्योंकि we have discussed all the permutation. Manner of reporting in the GSTR 3B that I will cover. In some time I will start that GSTR 3B how it will be reported. ठीक है. Yes, yes. A special procedure to be followed by the ECUs in respect of the supply of goods through them by composition taxpayer. Now, first you tell me, yeah, or complete this chart. Whether unregistered person can make the supply of goods through ECU. So I have written two important questions. Answer to the question number 1 you have given. What about the answer to the question number 2? What about the answer to the question number 2? क्या composition dealer can make the supply through e-commerce operator? Answer is yes. Answer is yes. However, there are certain conditions here, like enrollment number would be applicable. Okay. Yes, there is a condition that he cannot make matlab means interstate supply. He has to register in one state only. He has to take the enrollment number. And here also composition dealer obviously cannot make the supply through to the other state. Correct. So these conditions would be applicable. Absolutely. Let me go and read the provision in detail. A special procedure has been laid down under Section 148 to be followed by the ECO through which composition supplier supplying the goods under which the ECO would be required to declare the supplies made by such composition dealer in the GSTR rate. ECO would also be mandated to ensure that no interstate supply through them is allowed in respect of the supplies made by the composition dealer by making the necessary check and validation on their system or platform, because composition cannot make interstate output supply. Any question? Very nice. Otherwise, there will be the huge big penalty under section 122 subsection 1B. When the changes were made, when the changes were made in the allowing the unregistered person to make the supply through ECU, allow the composition dealer to make the supply of the goods through ECU, they have parallelly inserted the penal provision under section 122 within bracket 1B. They have inserted 122 1B to penalize big penalty on the ECU. ECU, who is required to collect the tax at source under section 52, has been notified as the class of the person who shall follow the following special procedure. What is the special procedure? ECU, एक मिनट रुकिएगा. ECU shall not allow interstate supply of the goods through it by the said person. Correct? The ECO shall collect the tax for the supplies made through it by the said person and pay the government as per the provision of 52 subsection 3. And ECO shall furnish the details of the supplies of the goods made through it by the said person in the GSTR rate. So three things. First, he shall not make the interstate supply. Second, ECO will collect the TCS. Third, that they will furnish the detail in the GSTR rate. What is the rate of the TCS? That is okay. We are not reading. That we are clear. GSTR rate. Which monthly statement is required to be furnished by the ECO GSTR rate? Correct. In the GSTR rate, so go to the GSTN website also. So best way to learn, if you like to see the format, just put the number and after that write the tutorial. The tutorial contain everything. Okay. Like this is the GSTR 8. Okay. In the GSTR 8, what are the tables? The GSTR 8, the tables are details of the supplies attracting TCS, details of the supplies made by unregistered person, amendment to the details already furnished, and amendment to the supplies made by unregistered supplier. Okay. So 3 का amendment can be done in the 4 and 3.1 का amendment can be done in the 4.1. Then payment of the taxes, etc. Go like we'll see one information details of the supplies attracting TCS. If you like to see the table, what are the details are being captured? Declare the details of the TCS for each supplier. Tax is to be collected on net basis. GSTN of the supply cannot be declared in more than one place, obviously, because it is the total information. Negative values are not allowed to be declared in this table. So if there is only sales return, you cannot enter the negative amount. It means you can collect the TCS, but you cannot pass the TCS. You cannot pay back the TCS. Whatever you have collected, you cannot pay back to the supplier. At least one tax column should be entered. Total tax amount should be, earlier it was less than 1 till July 24, and after that it is 0.5 from August onward. Correct? Then next is total tax amount enter value search by the GST in respect of the correct. एक बार वापस GST पोर्टल पर जाते हैं, हमारे वेब बुक्स पे जाते हैं. And details of the interest on account of the late fees, payment of the TCS amount, payment of taxes. ठीक है. So late fees, the details of the GSTR rate should be furnished on or before the 10th day of the month succeeding the calendar month in which tax has been collected at source. The due date of the GSTR rate may be extended by the commissioner. Further, the amount collected by the ECO is also required to be deposited separately by 10th day of the month succeeding the month. Due date is 10th and due date of the payment is also 10th. ECO can file GSTR rate only when TCS liability has been discharged. If the TCS is collected in the month of the July, the amount has to be remitted into the government on or before 10th of August. What is the late fees for delay in filing the GSTR rate? So 200 rupees per day for each delay and 10,000 whichever is lower. But if GSTR 8 nil to be filed in case if there is no TCS liability in a tax period, not mandatory. So that part maximum we can file for 3 years. Which annual statement 9B we have discussed. That part is okay. That also we have discussed. Read the provision. Nispaksh associate is a supplier selling its own product through a website hosted by. Does it fall under the definition of e-commerce? Whether Nispaksh is required to collect TCS on such supply? Just quickly tell me yes or no. You know, and we have discussed as well. Quickly say yes or no. Answer is no, because he is selling its own product. He's selling its own product. So he will be treated as supplier. He will be treated as supplier. Okay. As per the definition of the 244 and 245, Nispaksh will come under the definition of e-commerce operator. However, according to section 52, TCS is required to be collected on net value that acceptable supply is made through it by other supplier, where the consideration is to be collected by the ECO. In case where someone is selling its own product through the website, there is no requirement to collect the TCS. The transaction will be liable to GST like normal charge at per the prevailing rate. See the illustration number 2. If the Sitcom Technology Limited purchase goods from the different vendor and thereafter sell them its own website under its own billing, is TCS required to be collected? Again, answer would be same. Again, answer would be same. Correct. So, according to the section 52, TCS is required to be collected on the net value by other supplier where the consideration is to be collected. In this case, there are the two transactions. He purchased the goods from the vendor and thereafter sell the goods through its own website. For the first transaction, GST is leviable and will be paid to the vendor on which credit is available to Sitcom. And second transaction, he is supplying own account to the of Sitcom and not by other supplier, and therefore there is no requirement of TCS. Now read circular 167. You will have the, you have already read, but it's very good circular. ECO not to collect TCS in respect of the restaurant services so notified. ECO will not be required to collect TCS and furnish GST rate in respect of the restaurant service since it pays tax on the service in terms of section 9 subsection 5. If the 9.5 is applicable, then which return is to be furnished by the ECO? अगर 9.5 एप्लीकेबल है तो वो 9.5 वाला जो ECO है तो वो कौन सा रिटर्न फाइल करेंगे? GSTR 8 for the 52 and it is a regular return like GSTR 1. ECO not required to take separate registration for paying the tax on restaurant services supplied through them. Obviously, because ECO might have already registration under regular category because he is raising the commission invoice. So if they provide the additional 9.5 services, they are not required to take any extra registration because they are already registered. And ECO are already registered in accordance with Rule 8. There would be no mandatory requirement of taking the separate registration for paying the tax under Section 9.5. They can use the same registration. Next is ECO to pay the tax on restaurant services supplied through them by an unregistered supplier. ECO to pay tax on restaurant services supplied through them by an unregistered person. We have discussed that ECO will be liable to pay the tax on the restaurant whether supplier is registered or not registered. Correct? There's only one exception in the restaurant, that is 7,500 specified premises. Now tell me, will the tax paid by the ECO, will the tax paid by the ECO on the 9/5 transaction be the part of aggregate turnover, be the part of annual aggregate turnover? ये सेल पर जो टैक्स 9/5 वाला ECO पे करते हैं, will that be added in the ability of that e-commerce operator? The answer is no. Answer is no, because it is the turnover, it is the turnover of actual supplier. It is not become the turnover of e-commerce operator. ठीक है. The aggregate turnover of the person supplying the restaurant service through ECO shall be computed in accordance with the definition of the aggregate turnover and shall include it, the aggregate value of the supplies made by the restaurant even through ECO. Accordingly, the threshold consideration or any other purpose in the CGS take the person providing restaurant through ECO shall account for such service in his aggregate turnover. हाँ, that is very important question. जो रेस्टोरेंट सर्विस है, सी काके दी हट्टी, काका ढाबा, मतलब काके का ढाबा, ठीक है. And then there is a Zomato or Swiggy, and there is a Mr. B. Now, the sales is made through Zomato to Mr. B. So first Zomato will collect the food and then he will deliver. Is it a two transaction or one transaction? Is it a two transaction or one transaction? Is it a two transaction or one transaction? Is it a single transaction? Is it a it is a single transaction? The answer is yes. This point is correct. Single transaction. Who will pay the tax? A restaurant or Zomato? Who will pay the tax? Restaurant or Zomato? Who will pay the tax? Restaurant or Zomato? Very clear. Very clear. XU will pay the tax. Zomato, Swiggy. Now, is it like the RCM supply on which Zomato is paying the tax? Is it an RCM, inward RCM supply for the Zomato who is paying the tax under reverse charge? Something like that? Is it an RCM supply received by the Zomato and on which Zomato is discharging the GST liability? Is it like that? Is it like that Zomato is receiving the services and on which RCM is applicable, so he is paying the tax under reverse charge? The answer is no, sir. Because you have told it is a one transaction only. Therefore, you cannot artificially divide this transaction in two parts. Therefore, it is an outward supply by restaurant to the Mr. A. The inward supply is for Mr. A. Inward supply is for Mr. A. Now the Zomato Swiggy is only for the purpose of paying the taxes is considered as deemed supplier. So this transaction is not at all any transaction in the eyes of the GST. इसके बीच में जो transaction हो रहा है, that is not a transaction at all in the eyes of the GST. ठीक है. So restaurant services provided through ECO not to be considered as inward supplies for ECO. See, you know, when the circular is being issued when there is a big, there is a multiple doubt in the trade bodies. To clarify that matter, the circular is being issued by the CBIC. And once the circular is being issued, then have the common practice. Now try to understand. The question which we are discussing is not a small question. It was a big question. And तभी तो ये सर्कुलर आया ना. अगर ये नॉर्मल साधारण क्वेश्चन होता तो कोई बात ही नहीं थी. Now, very nice question. Reversal of the common ITC on the input goods and services will be required or not by the ECU. Now, what is the question? Try to understand that. Can I say that ECU is making, see, restaurant and ECU. ECU is making the supply. One is covered under the normal transaction, one is covered under 9.5 transaction. Okay, 9.5 is collecting and paying the same to the government on behalf of this. On behalf of this. Then if ECU is using any common ITC, then would they require to reverse the ITC? That answer is no. Let's read the provision directly. Let's read the answer directly. ECU provide their own service such as e-commerce platforms and intermediary for which it acquired input and input service on which ECU avail the ITC. ECU charge commission or fees for the services it provides. The ITC is utilized by the ECU for payment of the GST on the service provided by the ECU on its own account. ECU charge the commission. The situation in this regard remains unchanged even after ECU is made liable to pay the tax on the restaurant. ECU would be eligible to avail the ITC, and therefore ECU shall not be required to reverse the ITC on account of the 9 subsection 5. Now the problem is ECU is liable to pay the tax on 9.5 transaction and other than 9.5 like commission. They have the big setup. They have the big setup now. Matlab means they have their offices, they have their staff, call center, okay, some softwares by which they are controlling automatization. There would be big IT team. Correct. There would be some vendor also provide the services, expert, consultant. Now, whatever they will give, the ITC would be taken by the ECU and no requirement to reverse the ITC. So the tax which is being collected under 9.5, can they pay the tax by utilizing this ITC? Can they use the ITC for discharging this liability? Answer is no. It has to be paid in cash only. It has to be paid in cash only. And what about other commission? Can they use the others like commission, etc.? Service charge? Yes, they can use the ITC. They can use the ITC. Try to understand. Try to understand. They are not saying ECU is required to reverse the ITC. See the two important point. ECU is not required to reverse the ITC. Then what is the problem in using the ITC of the 9.5? एक बात बताइए ना. What is the problem in using the ITC in the 9.5? Tell me, what is the problem in using the ITC in the 9.5? I am not able to digest this point, so asking the question. I will give the answer after that, obviously. But मैं अभी ये नहीं समझ पा रहा हूँ जब once the question is on account of the reversal, they are saying no, there is no requirement of reversal. Now that why they are not allowing me, Swiggy Zomato, to use the ITC for discharging the 9.5 ka liability? Why? What could be the possible reason? Think and tell me. Correct. Very deep understanding. See, the Swiggy Zomato, whatever they are collecting on this transaction, they will collect the amount including taxes from the customer. Then only they will deliver the food, right? They will collect the cash from the customer, cash or bank, whatever. Then only they will deliver the same. Once they are collecting everything in cash, and it is not the outward supply of the e-commerce operator, it is the supply of the another supplier. Therefore, this liability, which is being collected in cash only, and for which are they charging any commission to the supplier? Answer is yes. They are charging the commission for making the delivery of this particular uh, facility, for making the delivery of the food. They are charging the commission. And commission is the outward supply, obviously, of the ECO, and therefore they can use the ITC for this business. This is only the collection responsibility and collection to be made in cash. It is not the supply of the supply e-commerce operator not to be paid through ITC. Very nice, yeah. Appreciated. Saminathan appreciated Geet, whatever the answer you have given, Sanjay, everyone. Really nice. Really nice. So let's move further. This is the biggest important question I can say. However, restaurant services issue with that is okay. GST is to be paid at the supplier to the services not notified under 95 but supplied through issue. That part we have discussed in detail, and they will liable to collect the TCS, right? Just say I have asked the question. So if omnibus is being provided by the company or by the partnership firm, then what would be your answer? 95 for TCS. 95 for TCS. If the supplier is company and provided, and that omnibus is rendered provided by the like Ola Uber, provided through Ola Uber, the TCS would be applicable, right? And if it is partnership firm, then 95, correct? So if the transaction is not covered in the 95, then in that case, yes, if the services are rendered through, if the services are rendered through if the services are rendered through e-commerce operator, then TCS provision would be applicable. The invoice will be raised by the e-commerce operator. Billing in case of the restaurant services and goods and services other than restaurant being sold by the restaurant to a customer under the same order. There can be the situation where the restaurant service and goods and services other than restaurant services are sold by the restaurant to a customer under the same order. The question arises as to who shall be liable for raising the invoice, considering that liability to pay the GST other than restaurant through the ECO and other compliance under the GST Act, including the issues of the invoice to the customer, continue to lie with the respective supplier. मैं repeat करता हूं, liability to pay the GST on supplies other than restaurant through the ECO, liability to pay the tax and other compliances, including invoice, continue to lie with the respective supplier. And ECO being liable only to collect TCS on that supplier. On such suppliers, it is advisable that ECO raise the separate bill on restaurant service in such case where ECO provide other supplies to the customer under the same order. ठीक है? Yes, very nice clarification. Again, that was another clarification that we will discuss in some time. Take the break of 10 minutes and we'll resume at after 10 minutes, and we'll discuss this ONDC wala example. Very nice example. ठीक है? So 10 minute का break start. TCS liability in case when there are multiple issue in the one transaction. In the current platform centric model of the e-commerce, the buyer interface and the seller interface are operated by the same issue. They've given the example of ONDC. This issue collect the consideration from the buyer, deduct the TCS, credit the deducted TCS to the GST cash ledger of the seller, and passes the balance of the consideration to the seller after deducting their service charge. Correct. Now, this is the process. In case the ONDC network, Open Network for Digital Commerce, government network hai, or similar other arrangement, there can be the multiple issue in the single transaction. One providing the interface to the buyer and another providing the interface to the seller. In this type of the setup, buyer side issue could collect consideration, deduct their commission, and pass on the consideration to the seller side issue. In this context, clarity has been sought as to which issue should collect the TCS and other compliances under section 52. In such situation, in this model having multiple issue, both buyer side issue and seller side issue qualify as issue as per the definition given in the law. First question, जहां पर multiple issue है in single transaction, then who is liable to do the compliance? So this time Mr. B, who is a buyer, then there is a buyer side issue, Mr. A, who is a supplier, and there is supplier side issue. Who is liable to collect the TCS? TCS is collected on the supply, right? TCS is collected on the supply. So any ECO who is making the payment to the supplier, the ECO who is making the payment to the supplier, that will be the identification. So in that case, because supply side issue is making the payment, then this issue will collect the TCS. Where multiple issue are involved, then where the supply side issue himself is not the supplier, the compliance, including collection of TCS, is to be done by the supplier side issue, who finally release the payment to the supplier for a particular supply made by the said supplier. Clear? In situation now, when the supplier himself is e-commerce operator, when the supplier himself is an e-commerce operator, when he's collecting buyer side issue, e-commerce operator, buyer is interacting with him and then he's interacting with this issue. Now this time this is also the supplier and also the issue. Then in that case, if the supplier who is an issue making the supply of its own goods or services, then TCS would not be applicable. So because these are the not two different transactions, these are the one transaction only, correct? Then actually there is one issue only. In this case, there is actually one issue who is making the payment to the supplier. Then this issue will collect the TCS. The responsibility of the collection of the TCS in the section 52 is lies on the buyer side issue. I hope it is clear. Correct, Saminathan, absolutely correct. Now, registration requirement you all know. If I make the interstate taxable supply the goods, 20 lakh, 40 lakh or mandatory? What would be the answer? If I am making the interstate supply of the goods, normally I'm asking, it is not through ECO or whatever. Is it mandatory registration or 2040? What if supplier? Okay, one question is being asked. Let us analyze. Let us analyze. Very big. One good question is being asked. What is the supplier providing the 9.5 services through ONDC? So ONDC, see, there would be one more issue. You are saying now the Zomato is connected with the ONDC. You mean to say is this? In case of the ONDC, you have to add two ECU. In case of the ONDC, you have to add two ECU, right? So question is, if supplier providing 9.5 through ONDC. So you are saying restaurant, then ONDC, then let's say one Zomato to whom we will say buyer side issue, right? And this is the buyer. Is that perfect example? Is cover everything for your case? मैंने ये सब ठीक है. So अभी क्या होगा? See, this 9.5 is the ONDC and ONDC Zomato, Zomato to buyer. See, these are the four category. Then section 52 ka responsibility who is making the payment to the supplier. It will be lies on the ONDC. Point number one. Now the problem is, in this case, the section 52 says you will not count the supplies made under section 9 subsection 5. Let me go to that provision once again. One second. I'll also get the clarity to all. एक और मैं वो respective provision highlight कर रहा था चाहता हूँ सभी के लिए. You are easily able to recall. No problem. Now, for the purpose of ONDC, when जब ONDC से भी provision देखेगा, for the purpose of this, the expression net value shall mean the aggregate value of the taxable supplies other than 9.5. So they will exclude the 9.5 transaction on the balance. If there is any other transaction, then they will collect the TCS. Otherwise, they will not collect the TCS. So in this example, because it is covered in the 9.5, obviously then 52 is being excluded. So इस केस में तो आपका 52 आएगा नहीं. But suppose ONDC is also he is also providing some more services through ONDC other than restaurant, which is not covering in the 9.5, or let's say it is in specified premises. Assume that it is in specified premises. Then not covered in the restaurant services, then again the TCS would be applicable. Your question is, will the ONDC pay the tax under section 9.5? Answer is yes. He will pay the tax under section 9. He will pay the tax under section 9.5. Okay. So every supplier shall be liable to be registered under this act, state or UT other than special category from which he make the taxable supplies if his aggregate turnover exceed 20 lakh. Limit of 40 lakh would be applicable if limit of 40 lakh would be applicable if limit of the 40 lakh would be applicable if he is exclusively engaged in the goods. Inter or intra or both? Inter ki intra or both? Only intra. Only intra, because if it is inter, goods mandatory registration. Correct na? Someone is saying both. So both nahi hoga, right? Both we cannot be. It will only be intra. Right? Now, if I am making the supply of the goods as well as supply the service, what could be the limit? If I am making the supply of the goods as well as supply the service, what could be the limit? 20 lakhs. Can you tell me, even if I'm exclusively engaged in the goods, even if I'm exclusively engaged in the goods, making the interstate supply, then also the limit of the 40 will not be applicable, limit of the 20 will be applicable. 20 ka limit will be applicable. Tell me the situation when the 40 ka limit is not applicable. I am making the, my God, interstate supply covered in section 24. Please do not get confused. Interstate supply covered in the section 24 and it is mandatory registration. There is no threshold applicable. My question was intrastate supply only goods, still the limit of the 40 will not be applicable. Limit of 40 will not be applicable in which circumstances? Okay. One more answer if I ask. There could be the two possibility. If I say, so first is if I am in the certain state like Arunachal, etc., then the limit of the 40 would not be applicable. And if I am engaged in like ice cream, pan masala, tobacco, etc., then that limit is not applicable, right? If I am getting the bank interest, which is a supply the service, what would be my limit, 20 or 40? If I am getting the interest and I am also engaged in the supply of the goods, otherwise I am only engaged in the supply of the goods, will I get the benefit of the 40 or the threshold limit would be 20 because I am engaged in the goods as well as service. What is the service? Interest. Yes, I will get the benefit because bank interest is being excluded. Bank interest on long-term loan जो कि exempt है, this part has been excluded from the counting of the 40 limit. This proviso. This one, this explanation, not the proviso. Now, if the person required to pay the tax under section 95, then it is mandatory registration. It is mandatory registration. See, what is the biggest advantage of 95 from government point of view? What is the biggest advantage of 95 from government point of view? Very nice. Oh my God. Very nice. So, point number one, कि tax is being collected only in cash. See, one biggest advantage, cash collection. Second advantage, Saminathan, you are correct. And second advantage, Geet, that even if the supply is unregistered, then also tax is being collected by the government. Why? Because the 95 is mandatory category of registration. So even they are below threshold limit, they are below threshold limit, still the taxes will be paid by the taxes will be paid by the e-commerce operator. करेक्ट अनरजिस्टर्ड पे भी टैक्स आ गया तीसरा पॉइंट है कि देयर वुड बी द लेस चांस ऑफ आई टैक्स evasion etc because they have casted the responsibility on the e-commerce operator. Next point, So they are saying section 52 and section 95 both are covered under mandatory category of registration. Okay. Grant of the registration to the person required to deduct the tax at source or collect tax at source. Any person required to deduct the tax in accordance with the 51 or person required to collect the tax in accordance with section 52 shall electronically submit an application duly signed or verified through EVC in REG 07 for grant of the registration through the common portal either directly or through a facilitation center. A person applying for registration to deduct or collect TCS, as the case may be 52, he does, that part is very important. The person, see, normally what happened, I have to normally what happen if I am eco never escape that tax. Correct. Okay. So if I am doing the transaction in the different state, then so normally we know that if you are making the outward taxable supplies from the different state, you need to take the registration in the state from where you are making the taxable supplies. Correct. But the point is, if the TCS and the TDS are required to be deducted, collected in different state, then they also require to take multiple registration. A person applying for the registration in section 51 and 52 in the state where he does not have the physical presence, then shall mention the name of the state in the part A of the respective state from where he is liable. But in the part B, mention the name of the state of the principal place of business, main head office. The proper officer may grant a registration after due verification, issue the certificate of registration in Reg 6 within the period of 3 working days, where a request made in writing by the person to whom a registration has been granted or an inquiry person to any other proceeding under this act, the proper officer is satisfied that the person to whom the certificate has been issued is no longer liable to be deduct or collect. The said officer may cancel the registration and such cancellation shall be communicated to the said person in Res 8. This is rule 12. Now let's move certain, I think there was one clarification in this regard also. Unregistered person can make the supply the goods through ECU subject to the condition. They would be required to declare the PAN number and principal place of the business so that it can be verified from the PAN that the turnover is less than the threshold limit. The details of these supplies made by the unregistered person through their PAN will be given in the GSTR 8 filed by the e-commerce operator. In cases where the total supply approach the threshold, it would be flagged to the concerned supplier to take the registration. Point to be noted. So if I'm unregistered, I'm making the supply through that Amazon, Flipkart, Mintras, and in each I have that turnover of like let's say 10, 10, 10. Then or let's say 20, 20, 20. My total turnover exceed the threshold limit. In that case, I would be intimated that now my turnover exceeds the threshold, I am liable. Further, supplier would not be required to pay any tax up to the supplies of applicable threshold limit and EC would not collect TCS till the supplier crossed the threshold limit. Accordingly, the person making the supplies of the goods through ECU who is required to collect TCS under section 52 and having a turnover in the preceding financial year and in the current financial year not exceeding the threshold limit in accordance with the provision of 22 subsection 1 are exempted from obtaining the registration. So repeating again, person making the supply the goods through ECU who is required to collect TCS, but that person is having the AATO not exceeding threshold limit, then he is exempted. Namely, such person shall not make interstate supply. If the question, there is one question, let me read that question. If the ECU collect the TCS against the unregistered person by way of the provided pen, can unregistered person claim that TCS? No. No. I mean refund how? He can, sir, he cannot. That has to be taken refund from C. He cannot deposit the same. He cannot file the return. There will be no liability in the GSTRA to the extent of unregistered person. So actually, if he deducted, मान लो that ECU, assume that ECU has collected that amount, but he can't remit the same to the government. So that if remitted, मान लो, if he has paid excess, then he has to take back the refund and then he has to return the amount to the supplier. Supplier can't claim from the government because the tax is not being collected or wrongly collected. I can say that is not paid to the government in the name of that PAN number. Is it okay? Or you have any practical difficulty as well? Samanathan, have you have you paid any such cases, or this is only question, theoretical question, or is it a practical problem? Okay. Practically, there is no difficulty right now because such person shall not make the supply of the goods through issue in more than one state. Such person shall be required to have the PAN issued under Income Tax Act. Such person shall be required to have the PAN. Such persons shall, before making the supply, declare on the common portal PAN number, address, state. Such person have been granted the enrollment number on the basis of the PAN declared by him. Such person shall not be granted more than one enrollment number within the state also. No supply shall be made through ECU goods. Through ECU, such person have been granted an enrollment number of the common portal. Where such person are subsequently granted registration, the enrollment number shall cease to be valid from the effective date of registration. Okay. Special procedure to be followed by the issue through which unregistered person supply the goods. Special provision has been laid down in section 148. What is the special provision? Same, we have already read. ECU shall allow the goods, supply of the goods on the basis of the enrollment number has been allotted on the common portal by the said person. He will not allow interstate supply, not collect the TCS under section 52. ECU shall furnish the GSTR rate and also he will give that information. Where multiple issues are involved in a single supplies, shall mean the issue finally release the payment to the said supplier. Then that person is liable to collect the who release the C means the issue finally release the payment to the said person for the said supply made by the said person through him. Person making the supplies of the service other than 95 through an issue who is required to collect TCS. Person, okay. Actually, that part is okay. Okay. What about the services? Is it mandatory or again 20 lakh limit is applicable if I'm making the supply the service through if I'm making the supply the services through 95 issue or 52 issue, both issue. Mr. A, who is making the supply of service through 52 issue, will he liable to get mandatory registration or he can enjoy the threshold limit? What is the answer? So issue self, he can enjoy the limit of 20 lakhs. He is not required to take mandatory registration. Oh, very nice question. Very nice question. Now tell me, very nice question. Mr. A providing the services of 19 lakh through e-commerce operator who is liable for TCS. Matlab, see, I'm not talking about this issue is not 95 issue, not 95 issue. Then tell me whether such issue shall be required to take mandatory registration. Saminathan, is that your question, right? This is your question, correct? Now tell me, what would be your answer? Your answer would be yes. Okay. Okay, let me repeat my question once again. Let me repeat my question once again. Mr. A, who is unregistered person because he is supplying the services through ECU other than 95. Point number one, he can remain unregistered. Is there any problem? He can remain unregistered. Is there any problem? He can remain unregistered, right? He can remain unregistered because the benefit has been given. Now the ECO who make the supply, will he collect the TCS for 19 lakh also? क्या वो TCS collect करेगा उस 19 लाख पर? Will he collect the TCS of 19 lakh? It is unregistered. Will he collect the TCS? Will he collect the TCS? Answer is no. Answer is no. No TCS for unregistered person. Otherwise, what happened? He will end up with the 1%, whatever the amount has been collected. No. And because he is not liable for section 52. He is not liable for section 52 in this case. Then does it require to take mandatory registration? Answer is no. Saminathan, please confirm. Saminathan, please confirm. See, that TCS would be liable only when the supplier is registered. No. So that point has been asked by you earlier also, the same question now. See, it is clearly written. See, this is for goods, obviously. So they have recently in the 2023, they have allowed the goods, but services was allowed long back. Services was allowed long back in 2017 itself. If I'm not wrong, the date was 15th November 2017. Recently they have added in 2023 for goods. It means ECO shall not collect the tax under section 52 by such unregistered person. ठीक है, ठीक, बहुत बढ़िया क्वेश्चन, वेरी नाइस क्वेश्चन यार समयनाथन, रियली अप्रिशिएट, वेरी नाइस क्वेश्चन यू आस्क्ड. आई थिंक इट्स डन ना, person making this, ठीक है, that is okay. Now let me go to the one, we have the sufficient time, let me go to the one question. Let's see if we be able to, oh, it's very very long. Shall we do the long question? Let's see whatever the question. Read the question. Star card, मैं Star Limited read करूंगा. So I will read the Star Limited. Own and operate the web portal in the name of the Star and is registered in Delhi as an ECU and is liable to collect TCS. Okay. Star provide the services to the various seller for selling the goods using their platform. Beside this, Star also sells its own product through the same web portal. Okay. Okay. For listing services provided to the seller, Star Star Limited charges the listing fees at the rate of 10% of the turnover of the goods sold by the seller in a particular month. Okay. Such listing fees is recovered from the seller irrespective of any return of the goods sold through the platforms. Customer can choose from the wide range of the goods listed on the portal and place the online order. Okay. The payment is made by the customer through the payment gateway in online mode only. At the time of monthly statement, okay, Star Limited make the payment to the seller after adjusting the TCS at applicable rate. Okay. The invoice for the goods sold on Star card is issued by the seller. Invoice for the goods sold on Star card in the name of the customer, and the tax is charged on the basis of the location of supplier and the customer. Okay. The goods are shipped directly by the seller to the customer, and there is no responsibility of shipping the goods on the ECO. In case the goods are returned, in in case the goods are returned by the customer, the shipping is arranged by the Star card. It charges the fees equivalent to 20% of the value as cancellation charges and refund the balance amount to the customer. Okay. For the 10% of the value of the goods returned is collected from the seller by the Star card as handling charges for return of the goods. Okay. In the month of January, a Pulkit resident of the Rajasthan purchased the following goods from the Star card. Laptop having the value of the 50,000 and the printer having the 10,000. Both the product were sold by the Infocom Limited, a seller listed on the Star card in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Karna kya? Let's see. Compute the net tax liability, including amount collected at TCS of Star card Limited and net GST payable in cash of Infocom Limited for the month of January. Okay. The opening balance कितना है? एक मिनट. Let's read the footnote. पहले क्वेश्चन ही कंप्लीट कर लेते ना. सेकंड है मोबाइल फोन हैविंग द वैल्यू द 30,000 sold by the Star card on its own capacity. Okay. CCTV camera having the value of 1 lakh sold by the secure word listed on the Star card and registered under the GST in the state of Gujarat. All the amount given are exclusive of the GST wherever applicable. Opening balance of the ITC for the relevant tax period for the Star card, Infocom Limited and secure word is nil. Okay. There are the three suppliers. Star card is also one of the supplier because he is making the sale of its own goods in own capacity. Infocom and secure. Further, there is no other inward and outward supplies of the transaction. Subject to the information given above, assume that all other conditions for availing the ITC satisfied. GST applicable on inward and outward at the rate of 18%. Compute the tax liability of Star card Limited and net GST payable in cash of Infocom Limited and Secure World Limited. ठीक है. पहले हम बताते हैं सी. हाँ. Now in this case there are three transactions. Whether this tax will be paid by the ECU or supplier, or tell me the name on A, B, and C who will pay the tax to the government. Okay, no problem. See, in this case, who will pay the tax? The answer is, in this case, the supplier is Infocom. In this case, the supplier is StarCard, and in this case, supplier is SecureWord. Now, TCS is applicable on this value. Whether TCS would be applicable, yes or no? Just tell the amount of the TCS. Just tell the amount of the TCS. Just tell the amount of the TCS which will be collected on the value. Tell me the amount of the TCS. So I'm also bringing the calculator. I'll do also the calculation with you. The answer is, the 60,000 was the value, total value, right? So you are saying 300, you are saying 300, all are saying 300, right? ठीक है. All are saying 300. Great, great. So, you also write, I'll also write somewhere 300 is the TCS amount. ठीक है. And then mobile phone having the value of the 30,000 sold by the StarCard its own capacity. Will the TCS be applicable? Answer is no, you have already told. So in this case, that complete tax will be payable by the StarCard, right? How much amount? What is the liability on this transaction? $5,400. Absolutely correct. So 30,000 18%. And in this case, also TCS would be applicable. In this case, also the TCS would be applicable. In this case, also the TCS would be applicable, right? Tell me the amount. Customer was in Rajasthan and the e-commerce operator is registered in which state? In Delhi. So it is IGST. First is IGST Infocom Limited was registered in Uttar Pradesh. This is IGST. This is also IGST, and Secure World Limited listed on StarCard and registered in the Gujarat. So Gujarat to Rajasthan, again it is IGST, right? So this will also be IGST, correct? All IGST. Is there any additional liability of the StarCard, or we can close? Is there any additional liability, or we can close 5,900, 6,200? Is there any additional liability, or we can close the liability? Sir, there is an additional liability of listing fees. What we have discussed. Go back to the discussion. He will collect the, he will 10% of the turnover sold by the seller in a particular month. Such listing fees is recovered from the seller irrespective of any return of the goods sold. इस क्वेश्चन में कोई रिटर्न्स ऑफ गुड्स रिटर्न का तो कोई इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं था ना. देयर इज नो इंफॉर्मेशन ऑफ द गुड्स रिटर्न, राइट? सो वी कैन से whether it is there or not, the total sales made through platform will be how much amount. कितना सेल टोटल इसके प्लेटफॉर्म से किया था? How much sales was made through the platforms of StarCard? It is 1,60,000. And what was the listing fees? What was the listing fees? 10%. 1,60,000 ka 10%, 116,000. And the GST is the 0.5%. What is the GST? Will it be the, what is the rate? Rate will be 0.5%. Will the rate be 0.5%? Sir, this is outward supply. This is outward supply of Star Card. So the rate will be 18%. So 2880. If you will add all the liability, then what is the total liability? Total tax liability of this supplier. What will be the total tax liability of this supplier, Star Card, including TCS? So you can say that 2880 is the normal regular supply, 5400 is the supply, and 300 and 500 is the TCS liability. The total is 9080. Total is 9080, right? Correct, absolutely correct. This way is correct, Sanjay. So I can say the 800 different and rest different. Correct. TCS and other than TCS, I have collected TCS and other than TCS, total separately calculate and then you determine the total liability. What is the liability of the Infocom? In this case, what is the liability of the Infocom? Now it's important. What is the liability of the Infocom? That you calculate. It is important. Exactly. What is the liability of Infocom? I can say gross liability would be कितने का कंप्यूटर था? How much computer? 50,000 and 10 60,000. 60,000 into 18%, 10,800. Is there any ITC which is available? Is there any ITC which is available? Is there any ITC which is available? Yes, sir. Listing fees 60,000 multiplied by 10%. So he has paid the listing fees of 6,000 rupees and 6,000 multiplied by 18%. 6,000 multiplied by 18%. How much amount? 1080. Calculation of tax liability of Infocom. Gross liability on sales. Okay, what was the sales? 60,000 into 18%, right? Less ITC, listing fees. How much amount? So iska 10%. Correct? So I can say the ITC would be 1080. 1080, huh? So net liability which he has to pay in cash, net liability which he has to pay in cash, 9720. He can file the GSTR 2S except the TCS collected and except the TCS collected. What was the TCS collected? 60,000 into 0.5%. The net tax liability which will be discharged in cash. It is 9420. Any doubt in this regard? I think very simple. I think very simple. Same you can do the same calculation. Same calculation you can do for what was the supplier name? That was some word. Secure word. Okay. Secure word. What was the sale? Sale was how much the sales? Sales का amount कितना था? What was the sales amount? 1 lakh. So gross liability will be 18,000. 10% would be the listing fees. Accordingly, the 1800 was the ITC. Except the TCS collected is 500. The net amount to be paid is 15,700. Is there any doubt? Is there any doubt? Everything is clear? Fine. Let's move 5-minute quick round of question answer. I think 5-minute quick round of the question answer, and then I will hand over to the board of studies to concluding the session. Okay. So Subhankar, allow me 5 minutes, sir. Allow me 5 or 10 minutes, and then you can proceed further. So fine. What is the maximum TCS rate can be there? What could be the maximum TCS rate can be? I am selecting everyone name. I am selecting everyone name. So please give the answer. Please give the answer in everyone name. कर दो तो select करना everyone. Please select everyone, not individually. ठीक है. हाँ. Now let me repeat my question. What could be the maximum tax rate as per the law? C, S, I, everything clubbed together. What could be the maximum rate C plus S clubbed together or IGST? What could be the maximum IGST rate of the TCS as per the law? Answer is 2%. Answer is 2%, but currently it is applicable 0.5%. Whether 0.5 CGST and 0.5 SGST or total 0.5. Is it 0.5 CGST and 0.5 SGST separately or the total 0.5? शुभांकर 1 मिनट आप स्टॉप करेंगे स्क्रीन. टोटल 0.5. ठीक है. Now, if there are multiple issue in a single transaction, there is a buyer side issue, there is a supply side issue. Who will collect the TCS? Correct. Who ultimately release the payment to the supplier? Who ultimately release the payment to the supplier? Give me the two situation wherein the 9-5 transaction will not be. Sorry, let me change the question. Tell me the two transaction on which 9-5 is not applicable. Tell me the two transaction wherein 9-5 is not applicable for the services specified therein. Transportation services, rent, hotel accommodation, housekeeping, restaurant. Services are notified services are made supplied through ECO, but 9-5 is not applicable. When? The point number 1, if the hotel accommodation and the housekeeping service provider are registered in the GST, can you add me one more? Can you add me one more? Yes. If the omnibus service provided by the company. If the omnibus service provided by the company. Tell me the two situation when services or when goods supplied through ECO, when goods supplied through ECO are not liable under section 52. When the goods supplied through ECO are not fall under section 52 and no TCS would be collected. Any guess? Yes, absolutely correct. If the supplier is unregistered, I have also not thought of. Saminathan, I have asked the question but not thought of the answer. Very nice. I was very nice. If the supplier is unregistered, then if the amount is not collected by the ECU, then if the amount is not collected by the ECU, then correct. Absolutely correct. 9-5 कर लिया हमने. 9-5 हो गया हमारा. In case of 9 subsection 5, will it is an inward supply for e-commerce operator? Will it an inward supply for e-commerce operator? It is not an inward supply because it is a single transaction or two transaction. Is it a single transaction or two transactions? Is it a single transaction or two transaction? It is a single transaction. In this case, who will pay? Who will issue the tax invoice to the customer? In this case, who will issue the tax invoice to the customer? The e-commerce operator. E-commerce operator. Now, tell me in the 9 subsection 5 and other than 9-5, one rest Zomato Swiggy is making the two type of the transaction. There is one 9-5 supplies and there is other than 9-5 supply. Which sale he can use the ITC, for which sale he can use the ITC, and for which supply he cannot use the ITC. किस सप्लाई के लिए वो यूज कर सकता है, किस सप्लाई के लिए उसे कैश में पे करना पड़ेगा? Can answer is cash in 95, other than that can use the ITC. Whether he is required to reverse the proportionate ITC as per the rule 40 to 43? The answer is no. If I'm unregistered supplier, making the interstate supply of the service through e-commerce operator, will I be permitted or not? If I'm unregistered supplier making the supply of the service through e-commerce operator, turnover below threshold limit, am I permitted or not allowed? Repeating the question once again. Geet, मैं सर्विस प्रोवाइड कर रहा हूं from one state to the another state through e-commerce operator. Can I do so without registration? Answer is yes, I can do so. Earlier there was no concept of enrollment number. Now they have inserted the concept of enrollment number. In the November 2017, they have allowed the same Geet. So therefore, answer would be allowed. Answer would be allowed. For goods, they have now permitted. If unregistered person is supplying the omnibus, which is a company, will the 95 be applicable? हाँ गीत इंटरस्टेट सर्विस में इंटरस्टेट भी गीत नोटिफिकेशन आप रेफर कर लेना 65/2017 65/2017 dated 15th November 2017. Services are being allowed. Okay, you might have understood the word goods. Correct? आपको लगा होगा मैं goods की बात कर रहा हूं. Is it? ठीक है. So company unregistered providing the omnibus through e-commerce platform, will the 95 be applicable? Will the 95 be applicable? Company providing the omnibus services? Answer is no. Very nice, very nice, very nicely explained, Saminathan. One or two questions on the registration. If only unregistered person supplying the goods through e-commerce platform intrastate, will e-commerce and e-commerce operator does not have any other transaction. E-commerce operator have only one customer who is supplying the goods through their platform, but that supplier is also unregistered. क्या ECO, whether ECO is required to take mandatory registration under TCS category? Sanjay, watch this recording again. In between, I have explained in detail. The e-commerce operator required to take mandatory registration if TCS is applicable. If TCS is applicable. Now, in this example, supplier is unregistered, so TCS is not applicable. Therefore, the clause of section 24 that ECU required to take registration where section 52 is applicable, that is not applicable. So, not required to take registration. ठीक है. In which case the limit of, see, I asked the question once again. I'm asking the registration. If I'm exclusively engaged in the goods, and I'm also getting the exempted services, try to understand. मैं exclusively goods में deal कर रहा हूं. I'm also making the supply of the exempted item. Let's say transportation service to a registered person. I am a supplier of exclusively goods, but I have the transportation. I have the truck. I am providing the transportation services to a registered person that is exempted in the GST. The turnover, the threshold would be 40 or would be 20 or would be 0. Only intra. Won't you allow 40? So when you allow 40, in which case of the transaction, I will get the limit of the 40. In which transaction I will get the limit of the 40, not the 20. I am exclusively engaged in the goods, but I am receiving the which service? Then you will still allow the limit of the 40. Answer is interest on the long-term loan or advances. Answer is interest on the long-term loan or advances. I'll ask the last question, which Samyanathan has asked. I'm a composite dealer. Can I make the supply of the service through ECU who is liable to collect TCS under section 52? Composition dealer supplying services through ECU liable to collect TCS under section 52. Answer is no. Answer is no. Last question for the day. Last question for the day and important question. I'm a composition dealer. My business is restaurant, Hotel Emira. And I am providing through Zomato. Hotel is service. I am composition dealer. Business is restaurant. I am making the supply through Zomato Swiggy. Can I do so? Answer. Tell me the answer. Composition dealer making the supply the restaurant service through Zomato on which 9(5) is applicable. Will it be barred, not allowed, or he is permitted? Samyanathan, read the section 10 subsection 2 and you will find see, composition dealer can't do the interstate at all. Composition dealer can't do the interstate at all. So that part is closed. That window, discussion window is closed. I am only talking about interstate. I'm only talking about intrastate. Sorry, not inter. Inter तो होगा ही नहीं ना. Intra. That is okay na. That is not a problem, sir. That is not the question. When I am talking about the let me repeat my question once again. I am saying supplier is composition dealer. ठीक है. He is supplying the goods through ECO liable to collect TCS. Will you permit? Will you allow? Just tell me yes or no. Your answer would be yes. Your answer would be yes. Samyanathan, that we have already discussed now. Section 122, 1 week of penalty. That we have already discussed. And we know that composition dealer can make the intrastate supply only. Now I am talking about services. He is liable to collect TCS. Okay, for your benefit, I'm writing the word intra. So what would be your answer in this case? Repeat. Can you please repeat once again? For Geet, amendment was there. In the clause D, the word section 52 was added at a later stage. Geet, section 10, subsection 2, clause D, later on the word 52 was added. Let me also see and open that chapter. Allow me 5-minute extra class. Allow me 5-minute extra class. Let me open that chapter. Let me share the study material of the institute. He is not engaged in making the supply of the service through ECO, which ECO, who is not required to collect TCS under section 52. So my dear friend, I only like to highlight that these services which are being restricted through ECO, the services which are being restricted only section 52. It means if the composition dealer is a restaurant making the supply through Zomato, whether Zomato will liable to collect TCS or not. In this example, whether Zomato Swiggy will liable to collect TCS? will liable to collect TCS? The answer is no, because on the 9.5, no TCS. And because it is not TCS, then it is not limited, not barred by the clause D, and hence composition dealer can make the supply of the restaurant service through Swiggy Zomato. It is not being restricted in 10 subsection 2 clause D. Is it clear? So I can say no, and intra services and 9 subsection 5 like restro. Answer is yes. Is it clear? From my side, today class is completed. Now over to Subhankar. Sorry for delay. थोड़ा लेट हो गया डिस्कशन में, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Arun sir, for completing the session related to the e-commerce transactions. And the most important thing which I would like to know, I would like to let you know that the RTP, the revision test paper for January 2026 attempt has been released by Board of Studies on the BOS Knowledge Portal. You can refer it. That you still have the sufficient time for referring the RTP and practice the same. This time there are around 12 MCQs uh, with two case scenarios related to GST and one MCQ for the custom. The MCQs have the integrated application of multiple chapters, and for solving them you need the thorough and the deep understanding of all the chapters of the indirect taxes. I would strongly suggest, while you are solving the RTP, first just solve it independently without looking at the answers, and after that match your solutions with the answer. If you feel any discrepancy between your answers and the RTP answers, then correct it. Or if you find any query related to the RTP, you can let us know on the query portal as well. Moreover, either the MCQs or the RTP cover the MCQs, the integrated case scenarios, the detailed question. This is the detailed question, which also contains the application of the multiple chapters, the integrated application of the multiple chapters, especially from the section one of the subject. I would suggest that make sure to practice it well, so that you can cover the amendments also. You can practice this, and while practicing, if you have the proper practice of the RTP, it will definitely help you in the exams. And if you have any query, if you have any kind of even the suggestion also related to the RTP or any other thing, so you can let us know. The notes related to the today's session and the another sessions uh, will be uploaded on the BOS knowledge portal as well. So that was the important thing, that RTP has been released and you can practice the same from now itself. So thank you so much, Arun sir, and thank you so much all the students for being there and attended the class so patiently today. Okay, thank you so much. Let's conclude this meeting.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, students. You can leave now. Yes, yes, please.